Very good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for logging in to our Apparently webinar. Apparently is a series of webinars and it involves panel discussions with people across generations. And because we are grander together, we are really trying to help the intergenerational family all the way up from the grandparent to the parent to the child level. And we bring in professionals for their expert perspectives. And we also bring in normal folks like you and I to share their perspectives as well. So tonight we have two speakers. Our first speaker is the current ACS Barker Road School principal, and he has been the principal of not just one secondary school. He'll tell you more about his very interesting experience leading other schools as well. We also have Laura Le. Laura is a mother of two children, one in primary school and one in secondary school. And being a social worker and also having traveled internationally to work in an NGO, she'll also share her perspectives of how she has been able to raise her children with or without any intervention. So we'll hear from her. Friends, when you have any questions that you'd like to pose to our panelists, feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And then I will pick up those questions after Zihong and Laura have spoken, and I'll moderate discussion time towards the end of this webinar. So feel free to use the Q&A function. So why not we invite Zihong? Zihong, over to you. Let's hear your perspectives.
Thank you, Shanton. Hi, good evening, everyone. Very happy to be here. Just allow me to share my screen with you. Well, I'm very happy to be here with every one of you to share a bit of my experience. Definitely, I'm not a grandfather yet, but just let me share some of the things, how can we support grandchildren in their studies and exam. And I know this is the time where really we come to a peak for the PSLE, at least, or for the primary school. The last term is coming soon after this break, or in terms of secondary school, the same thing. So let me just zoom in a bit about myself first. Now currently a principal ACS Barker Road. Prior to that, principal at Anglican High and St. Hilda Secondary. I also worked in for a while, short while in MOE as a guidance specialist, which we look into counseling, education and career guidance. How do we guide students to make decisions about their future, and also in terms of emotional and social support for schools. A bit of my family. I have 3 kids. So if you look at this part of the screen, I have 3 of them, 1 boy and 2 daughters. The oldest being 24 and the youngest being 19. 2 of them are studying uni. My youngest is studying in ITE. Then that's my family in the middle, my parents. I have 1 brother. My parents listened to LKY during those era, only 2 of us. And I thought the last picture is interesting. That is my grandmother feeding my elder son. And it's really very unique for me to be able to see my grandmother feeding and my own son so that we could enjoy our dinner, and for her to have a chance to really do that. She has passed on since then, but it's something memorable. So I thought to share with you that grandparents really has a special place to all of us. I'm sure for you when you were a grandkid, but for me too. Today, I will share a few things. One, share about the changes in education landscape. I thought that is useful for you to know so that you also roughly understand where is it. Not so much detail. Probably I can't share the details, but give you a rough idea of what MOE, the nation, is heading towards. Second, I want to talk about support with a plan. Today we talk about how can we support our grandchildren. Then maybe it's having a plan of an idea. And I want to just highlight the unique role of grandparents. There's something unique about what you can do. And lastly, something that, what do you want your grandchildren to remember about you? Okay, let's talk about some of the changes that MOE has made. one of the things that actually MOE has always believed is to maximize the strengths of students and to allow a better pace for students. So what it means is this, that if they are really good in certain subjects, give them a chance to excel in it, to grow further, to develop their talent. It may not be just study, it may not be just subjects, it could be a sports, could be a music, art, but whatever, that is the always believe that because each one of the students that we have in our school will be the future leader. And so I'm always believe that it's really important to develop each one of them and also allow a better pace. There are some who really may need a bit more time to understand the subjects to do well. Then let pace them up. Not just pace them up, but have different format of learning to suit their needs. So that is really what is it. So you can look at it, for example, in primary school, the gifted program that we used to have where some of the students will then move and to go into certain school. Now it's going to go to all schools, right? And they are made in different form so that different students who have different strength, maybe in mathematics or in science or languages, have a chance to really express their strength. Then you look at in secondary school, for example, full subject-based banding. There's no more streaming. There's no more normal academic, normal technical, or express. But instead, students are able to take different subjects according to their strength. So I can do my mathematics, for example, and science in a faster pace compared to my uh, geography and history if I'm not so good in my languages, for example, or literature. So they are doing quite a different, and that's quite exciting because now students can really do at a different pace. In fact, even for example, some students say, okay, I'm not so good in my mother tongue. I can do my mother tongue in a pace that is more comfortable for me. So it all varies. And this is what it means. So this is very detailed. I just probably just want to show and explain to you is that if you look at it, there's just a lot of variety of progress. People can really take different combination. That goes what MOE is trying to do is that really each child is unique and they come with their strength and we want to give them a chance to do things at their own pace so that they can enjoy the learning. But if they are ready, they do it at a faster pace. And if you look at it at the post-secondary, there's just so many options now. From JC to Polytechnic to Body Foundation programs, all the way to ITE. And ITE is going to move where everybody is going to higher NITEC. NITEC means National Institute of Technical Education Certificate. Even Polytechnic, they can do a foundation year to prepare themselves for it. So there's a lot of varieties. Just another example, even students from currently normal technical, they have various pace to do, excuse me, to do the various pace they want. But eventually, everybody have a chance to go university if they wish to go that way. So really beyond grades, MOEs also allow them to have a chance to express through different ways. For example, there's an early admission exercise for IT and Polytechnic before they even sit for national exams. This to give them a chance to, for example, apply it, go for interview, use a portfolio to gain into courses. Then there's direct school admission for JCs that's based on their talents like sports, like aesthetic performance, through leadership, various way to go into it. Even there's opportunity for direct school admission based on character. So these are the various ways that MOE is saying, let's recognize them beyond the subjects. And I think that's really important because when we want to support our children, grandchildren for study, we may always think that the grades is the only thing that's really count. But government is very keen to say, let our students, our children have chance to express their various gift and strength. And so this is one example of that. So this is what they do. when they express. So, for example, my own daughter, she just been successful in her early admission exercise for Polytechnic, uh, even though she has not graduated for ITE, but she got a place just 2 days ago, she was informed. So these are things that MOE is going to allow that. Similarly, even going to university, there is the aptitude-based admission. And so what I show you here are just examples of what they look at. Students that, may have represented Singapore in the arts or in the competitions, survey community, internship. So now the channel, the way to progress go beyond just grades. Now that is important because sometimes when we are just too anxious about our study, actually it's counterproductive. But when you know that there are so many means and ways, it recognizes that each child that we have, each grandchild that you have, actually always have opportunity as long as they build on certain character they need to have. So how do you support them? I'm just going to suggest a few things. One, is really focus on characters, attitude, skills, and grade. I mean, to be honest, come to a certain age, it's very hard for any one of us to guide them in study. What they are learning is very different. Even when I was trying to help my own children, mathematics in PSLE, they were doing math using the model method, and something that I've not learned when I was a kid. And so what we do is that really focus on characters, attitude, skills, and grades. What it means is this, it really means as a grandparents or even parents, if there are some of us here, uh, not so much of talking, hey, you should really just make sure you get your grades well, make sure that every single points you should get, but rather focus on the reflection part. So what have you learned from this? What have you realized about you? What have you done well? What have you not done well? How could you change your habits? How could you demonstrate that you have a positive attitude to learning? Because the last three, one is to pressure them to get every single point, and in the end, they start to dislike the subject they love. And I think that's really counterproductive. So if you look at the diagram, sometimes that's what we call a fixed mindset and growth mindset. So sometimes we unknowingly give our children or grandchildren this whole idea of fixed mindset. When they have done something well, we may say, wow, you are very intelligent, very clever. I I think we meant well. But if we focus on say, wow, what have you done to help yourself to progress, to grow? What have you done to overcome this thing? It's a growth mindset. It's to say that every challenge I am able to overcome it, not because I already have it or not have it, but because I work hard on it, because I reflect and I think about it. And I think something important is sometimes Singaporean, we are very scared. We very, kiasu. The word is actually scared to lose, scared to fail. But actually, to failing forward is really important in growing. It's for them to say, it's okay, I made a mistake and I learn from it. Because when we overprotect them, when they don't experience failure or mistake, when the real one come, they are so disturbed emotionally, they cannot regroup themselves. But the moment they are able to realize that if I make a mistake, I fail, I didn't do well enough, I learn from it, I review and say, oh, this is what I can do. So really help them to reflect. So I want to say this, really that apology killers are overprotective. So when we overprotect them, they miss the chance to pick themselves up. They miss the chance to learn. So if you really did, you can read more about growth mindset. And I think that if you look at kids who are grow out and successful, they are the one that really have the growth mindset. Emotional support. Beside gathering the character, I think emotional support is providing a listening ear, acknowledge their feelings to say that, okay, I know that you are, give them chance to talk about their feeling. And I think don't rush to a solution. And one of the things that people like to do is tuition. But I don't think that's the best solution. Is really about helping them to review their study methods, But that's only after we allow them to air their emotions, and really find various ways to cope. Teach them how to cope. You can share your story, how you cope. And one of the things, in preparing for this, I ask my grandchildren, what do they enjoy about grandparents? Good food. You know, if amongst all the coping strategies, one of the things is food is one of those strategies. Exercise, going for a walk, just having a good time, social connection. And I think those are things that, you know, grandparents, you offer a lot. My children feel very relaxed with my parents. That's one way of that. So you have that unique role that I want to say to you, which leads my point, because your experience, and I think when you share your experience, you show them that you can learn and they can learn too. That, you know, even with limited resources, if some of you have grown up in those times, you can overcome. And those stories are things that they enjoy and they appreciate, but they learn the value from you. My children learn a lot from my parents because of their stories they share. From the young, my father experienced part of the war and talk about how he has to survive. Those are values that they learn, and stories connect them. And so I want to encourage you to do that. And the other thing is your love. Um, uh, Nothing can replace that. It's something special. And I want to say that. And that's why I show you the first picture, my grandmother. She was a very stern lady, but I know she loved me. She cooked good food for me every time. And those are things that really give us strength, give your grandchildren strength also. They know that you love them. And that is the unique part. And that is something I want to encourage you to really know that, yeah, if you want them to remember you, and that is the part about, you know, that you love them and you love them in your own way. And that give a lot of energy during high stress time. Yeah, that I shall end my sharing here. Welcome later for our dialogue together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zihong. That is very interesting, in the sense that you spend as much time talking about planning and emotionally supporting our children, as much time as you did on careers to pathways to career success from the academic point of view. Thanks very much. So the questions will be coming in very soon regarding things like what are our future leaders in Singapore going to be like, direct school admissions, and you have a personal story of your own daughter. So thank you very much. We are now going to go on to Laura. Laura is going to share her personal experience as a mother of two children, a primary school child and a secondary school child. Laura, over to you.
Hi, Shanton. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight. It's a privilege to be here to share. I think in my family, success means that we don't step on someone else to get ahead, but it includes others embracing, especially those who are weaker, so that together we journey and make it to the finish line. I think I told my kids, both of them, when they were in kindergarten too, even before they went to primary school, that to me, they are already a success. Why? Because they love God and they love other people. They have developed compassion and they often ask about the invisible class or those that society deems as not so important. Maybe the estate cleaners, migrant workers. Far too many migrant workers have actually built flats and kept our estates clean, but very few have actually stepped into a Singaporean home. So for us, we befriend them, we get to know their names, we invite them to have meals with us at home, and we're so honored that they call us their Singapore family. For my kids, one of the very common questions we ask before bedtime is not whether they finished their homework, but who was not in school today. We encourage them to care for other people. Perhaps that classmate who was not well, do they need something for school the next day? Or even for the teacher who was absent, perhaps we could keep her in prayer because she's not feeling well. And I think it's so important to teach our kids to celebrate the wins of others. We often ask them who is the quietest in their class because that person might really have some really good ideas And it's so heartening when we watch with them how their classmates blossom. So they could be asking their classmates, for this project, what ideas do you have? Would you like to share? Cheering other people on is so important in life. So to me, I think character development is my measure of success. And I remembered a few years ago, there was a Japanese researcher who interviewed several Singaporean families, including mine. And I think she was quite shocked that we did not prize academic pursuit as top priority. For my kids, my aspiration and goal for them is that they would be a blessing everywhere they go, to develop empathy for other people, and that they would be a blessing wherever they tread, not be a public nuisance or annoyance, but a positive contributor to society. And we have seen that they are truly welcomed and they enjoy favor wherever they go. So last year was my daughter's PSLE year, and my husband and I, we refused to buy into the bugbear of PSLE. To me, it was so important that the kids get to play every day. So every day at 5 p.m., they get to play in the park nearby. They get to pet dogs, they make friends with the young and the old. They bring their frisbee, they bring their volleyball, and they can play with people their age, but they can also play with people in the polytechnics or in the universities, or even anyone who decides, I want to join in the game. They get to also mix with local Singaporeans, but also other immigrants who may have moved to Singapore. And it's a melting pot of cultures, but we welcome everyone. I remember last year, we still got to host our overseas friends and visitors. We still went for church camp in Malacca, and I told my girl, please don't bring your books along. You've been doing your work consistently across the 5 or 6 years anyway. She got to perform in her SYF dance, which was a highlight for her. We got to play sea sports at Desaru. We still carried on life as per normal. The week before her PSLE, she had the NDP preview, and we got to celebrate Singapore's birthday. There was really no pressure about AL score, DSA. In fact, we never went for any orientation, no open house. And she has the freedom to choose. I told her, don't listen to just your school principal, teachers, or even papa and mama, or yourself or your friends on what a good school is, but really listen to God, pray, and see what are the core values, what is the culture there that you really align with. Even for CCA, she gets a choice to choose what she wants. What we did on our part was really to cheer her on, to accompany her to school for each prelim paper and tell her, this is an adventure of a lifetime. Have fun. Enjoy this moment. We continue to play board games, card games. We have movie nights together. We also have our secret codes of affection and bedtime talk. Regarding grandparents, my mom brewed a lot of chicken soup for her to boost up her body constitution. We kept up with monthly visits at the different grandparents' homes. And we have a meal to celebrate after each paper, whether it's a prelims or whether it's a PSLE. I think for my kids, they look forward to exams because after the exams, it's actually the holidays. So there's a carrot after that, right? We did plan a family holiday in Taiwan after PSLE, but we also organized a Christmas carnival for villagers in Indonesia. And my daughter actually shared that she enjoyed the trip to Indonesia more than the Taiwan holidays because she got to serve other people. And to me, I think that speaks volumes on looking outwards and not just taking care of our own interests, but looking after the interests of others. Now, the joke was that for the first 20 minutes after her PSLE results was released, we actually didn't know what her score was. There she was, busy taking photos, and we were just soaking in the atmosphere. We actually did ask whether she was happy with the results, and she said yes, and then she went on her merry way. And after 20 minutes, my husband and I looked at each other and we said, maybe we should actually take a look at her results. So we looked at the certificate. Yeah, I think she tried her best. And to me, that's always good enough. And before leaving school, the last person she took photo with was her security guard, because this lady had been managing traffic control for the last 6 years, and not many people know her name, but we do, and we want to honor her. We took a Polaroid photo with her and asked her to keep it so that she would have a memory of my daughter in that school. So for my daughter, when I asked her what last year was like, if you can sum it up in one word, she said it was fun. It was no different from any other year, and I think that's how we wanted it to be. The PSLE is just the first of many national exams to come. And we want to really live out what we say to our kids, that as long as you try your best, even if you just barely scrape through, that will truly always be great enough for us. So that's what I want to share. Thank you.
So we're going into the Q&A right now. I see there are three very interesting and very current questions. Perhaps I can pose the first one to Zihong. You know, Zihong, one of our attendees has asked, every school is a good school. That's what we've been hearing nowadays, now that the Ministry of Education is trying to equalize all the schools. Is this statement really true that every school is a good school? Zihong.
Thank you for the question. I think first we have to define what is good. Very often, if we use one yardstick and decide good, then there is a lot of competition, right? You are better than me. If you use height, for example, somebody say you are taller than me or not. So if we use that way, okay, then there's an issue. You definitely will have different relative way of marking what is good. But if we look at quality, then that's the different way to looking at good, right? Because if I'm good in swimming, I'm good in swimming, but I don't have to be good in running as compared to my brother who's better in running and football. So I think that is the thing that what MOE is saying where every school is a good school is because we get a chance to develop areas that we are good in. And we offer students who come into our school that unique experience. It's just like I have three kids, and each one of them is so different. And it will be very sad if I subject them all to the same thing, that you have to love mushroom. My son doesn't love mushroom, but I love mushroom. My middle daughter loves mushroom. And that is what it means actually. So what it means is really your child or your grandchild really must love the school. And I'm in education for so many years. I have seen parents who sometimes insist their own children to go to a certain school. And at the end of the day, it becomes school refusal because they didn't like the school. And I think consider as a success where they love the school, they want to go to school. You don't have to wait them out, chase them out to wake up. That's more important. So I think the school experience is the one that actually, in the longer run, going to build their characters, the one that teach them how to care for each other, the one to be resilient, the one that they enjoy helping each other, study together, do their CCA together. I think that's a good school. So it's important that to understand that that is what it really means. But if you say, was teacher work hard for academic, I think all teachers want to do their best for their kids because we all know that they come into our gate, we want to do our best. Will all the CCA teacher want to offer the best experience to the kid? They will also. So I think that is so look at school as a way that it's not just about classroom experience, but the whole learning experience, making friends that last, making friends that they can turn to when they are down, and making friends that they will support each other. Those are things that remember. I mean, how many of us remember a single lesson our teacher have taught? Probably not. But we remember how our friends support each other, things that we do together, or we got punished together. And those are things that's really precious.
Thank you very much, Zihong. So what I'm hearing you say is that there is no one school that is better than another, but it depends on how the child is able to fit into the school and make the best of the experience he or she has.
Yes, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
By all means,
Perhaps,
visit open house because that's where your grandchild or child can experience the school. And then they
yes.
say, oh, I really like the vibe of the school. I really like the friendliness of the teacher or the friends. I really love this thing. I think this program is really what I always look for. And I think those are things because and that's why they're so important to experience the school.
Yes, and therefore different schools during their open house will demonstrate what their strengths are in. For example, some schools may be better in a certain uniform group, some schools are better in certain sports or in arts and cultural kind of CCA. So really the child has to figure out what he or she wants to do and to find whether that school is suitable for him or her, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have parents who choose one of the school that I was because they like the culture. They
Mm,
say people here support each other. students are not over competitive against each other, and that's what they want their child to experience, that kind of bond and support where people share their loads and encourage each other. And I think really key thing is you want your child to be happy going to school, and after school even happier.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you for that. Perhaps I could now ask Laura. I mean, Laura, you already have one child in secondary school and another one currently in primary school. And what was your journey like in selecting a secondary school for your elder child? And what are you looking out for when your younger child is ready to select a secondary school? Laura.
Hi, am I okay? Not breaking up?
Yes, we can hear you, although your camera is off, but don't worry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, could you repeat the question again? I know about younger child going to secondary school.
Yes, so because you've got two children, your
Yes.
older one is already in secondary school. I'm sure you had some decisions to make with your child in selecting that, and then you have a primary school kid right now. So,
Yes.
what do you think about whether every school is really the same? As Zihong was sharing with us, that it's about the experience. It's not so much high or low standard. It's how the child fits into that school.
Right. Spot on. My girl is the firstborn. Firstborn, very characteristic, does her own work, very disciplined. I don't have to chase after her for homework. I don't know whether the gender thing as well. My little boy is a totally different ball game. This boy is someone who's a maverick. Rules are meant to be broken, boundaries are meant to be pushed. And so when we were looking at a school for him, I said, why don't we just look at the one downstairs? And we are in Hougang, so Singhua is the nearest school. And then the other choice that we had was Geylang Methodist, which is a co-ed school and through the Methodist affiliation. And then, of course, the last one is ACSJ, which his dad is an old boy, which is very far away. So we were saying, which is a really good fit for him. We looked through the school's website, spoke with different alumni who graduated from these different schools, spoke with people who had taught in that school. And we were also speaking with and I actually wrote in 3 emails to all 3 of the school principals. And they were very kind. They got back to me, and I I really wanted to tell them as a P1 parent with concerns, because this child might possibly have some learning needs. And then they were telling me about the constraints in their school pertaining to the allied educators. And so we made a choice to weigh our decisions and what could possibly be the school that provides the most support for him. So in the end, we actually went with ACSJ, and we have been so blessed to have received a lot of support from the school in that respect. But again, to me, I think my dad had always inculcated in me to have a child going to school very happy. So I want to make sure when I went into the school, I had to tell them as well, my expectation is really simple. I just want my boy to be happy coming to school, because that's half the battle won. If he has any, if he needs a little bit more time with homework and all that. So we would speak with each of the teachers and give them a little bit of background. We did have a year and a half of therapy to get him to where he is before he entered P1. And I think he's made a lot of progress, getting him to learn to be resilient and to be able to manage the expectations. I think, every family has to find what works and fits them. And myself as a professional, I mean, to me, I don't think I was bothered by the stigma. I'm not worried about a label. To me, the most important thing is that my child gets the early intervention and the help that he needs. So yes, I do agree that every school is a good school. And incidentally, this question was asked by the classmates of my older girl. So last year she was P6 and they had to decide what school to go to. And so I told her, pray about it. Don't listen to just your principal, your teachers, papa and mama, not even your friends, and not even yourself, but pray. And she discovered that many of her friends told her, we're going to a better school. And then she was a bit shocked. She's like, oh, you mean the school that I want to go to is not a better school? And I said, no, no, no. it's maybe better for them, perhaps, academic pursuits or certain CCAs that they're looking at. But for you, if you resonate with the core values of that school, the culture of that school, then that is a good school for you. So, to each his own, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's
Sorry.
right. So the school may be better for this child, but not better for another. Thanks very much for that. I want to go back to Zihong on this same topic about selecting a secondary school, because you have been school principal of 3 different secondary schools, and you have seen all the Sec 1 kids come in with whatever decision has been made. So one of the questions that our participants has asked is, some people say that we should let our children make their own decisions and not pressure them. What are your thoughts, Zihong? So this parent is scared that the primary school child will make a decision that they'll regret in future.
Okay, first, we have to accept life. Life actually do have regrets, but we grew stronger and wiser after that. So it's okay, right? Making a decision and regret is okay. It's part of growing. Actually, you become, I make certain decision and I regret and say, okay, I learn from it, I become wiser. And I think that is important. I think too, any decision is a growth, it's a opportunity of growth. So it's really processing with them and asking them, why do you choose this? And if they say it's friends, then oh, okay, to this child, friends is very important. Friendship is important. And I think that is, sometimes we say we should not, but we also recognize that that is how each one is being wired, right? And then to explore further and say, so what about friends that you enjoy? What does it mean if you go to a new school and making new friends? How does that excite you? So I think that is a part that when they make a decision, it doesn't mean that we just say, okay, you make a decision, I'm not going to care. But it's really me processing with them and going through with them and thinking through with them, asking questions so that they can see different perspective. And I think that is what it's growing about. And I think that's really important so that they own the decision. And it's not easy for us parents, I admit. Sometimes we are very worried they make a wrong decision, but there's always chance to turn around and revert around. I personally, I study in uni, preparing myself to be a researcher. Then I realized in my final year, I don't really like lab work. I don't think I enjoy being in the lab 24/7. And I decided to become a teacher at my final year of, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yes, thank you very
And
much, Zihong.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
really like your phrase that we learn from our regrets, whatever decision we have made. Another a question that has come up, perhaps either for Laura or Zihong, is that one of our participants asked, how do we help our children to keep a balance between studies and enjoying their childhood? And yet there's another question from a grandparent who says, as a grandparent, should I remind my grandchildren to study? Anyone, Laura or Zihong?
Yeah, so uh, I also saw a question on enrichment classes. So we are not the parents that send our kids to lots of like piano, and so on and so forth. Swimming is a life skill, so they had that. But for me, that's why we say 5 p.m. That's something that the kids can look forward to. At 5 p.m., my son knows that he gets his outdoor time. And I think sometimes the pressure is on to like, you have work to do and therefore we're going to cut, or like, you've not been on your best behavior and then therefore we will cut away your outdoor time or play time. And I think that's actually more harmful or less helpful, because especially for him and his makeup, he needs to run and expand that energy. And we always joke, me and my mom, we say, 5点的放狗时间, which in Chinese is 5点了放狗, I mean, English it would be, 5, release the dogs. Who let the dogs out? So he needs to run, expand all that, and then when he comes back, he's more coherent, he's more sane. And yeah, for the rest of us too. At the same time, we always tell them homework is always, something that you need to do first, finish. There have been times when, because of CCAs or whatever reason, and genuinely he's not able to finish a piece of work. And then what we do is then write in to let the teacher know, because he was involved in all these different school activities. can he have one more day's grace? And I really thank God that the teachers have been very understanding in that. Mental wellness is emphasized a lot. And I think we've been able to work very closely with the teachers. But at the same time, knowing my son, I told him, please don't take advantage of that. And it's not like mama's going to write in every time, okay? You have to do your work first and then, do all the other things. But I
Yeah,
think,
thanks very much, Laura. I really like what you said about 5 o'clock. It's outdoor time to let children be children. But I also hear you say that the enrichment that you would really support are those that will give them life skills. So I think that's a very important point too. Yeah. Zihong, what do you think regarding balancing studies and childhood? And maybe we can add this other question. Should we as parents and grandparents monitor our child doing their homework?
Um, okay, I think that we recognize that we are that certain routines help us. It's part of growing, it's part of being responsible, it's part of learning certain things. And those routines are things, like if I like swimming, I play the routines, I become better in my swimming. If I'm doing something. So I think it's really helping a child to say, what kind of routine will help you to do that? And I think we build that in. It's part of growing up, it's part of self efficacy that we want them to have. So yes, I think it's working with them to find that monitor. I think there's certain time we do need to. Some kids where they need times to build a habits, then we guide them to build the habits, uh, so that they learn from it. So I always believe that no kids come to us with issue of intelligence. It's more their habits of their mind. If somebody has talked about it, or really the habits of they do that. And I think research has shown, if we always put targets on grades, you get one more grades, you improve your grades. Actually, it's counterproductive. But if we build micro habits, that's the part that's going to change their life. So micro habits, like people say, okay, you walk more, don't drive, walk more, increase and those are the things. Similarly, I think it's just helping that to do that. So should we monitor? Should we remember? I think it's really to role model and do that and do it together with them. And each child is different. Some are better with last minute work. Some plan ahead. So I have three of them. My son is a last minute worker. But he get it done. Um, my middle one is very well ahead plan. She will put in a calendar, Excel sheet, even if she needs to. And so they are all different. And I celebrate their differences and their uniqueness. But I also want to say something. Sometimes we can try to do everything we can't cover. So I mean, let me share with you in reality. When my son is J1, we were actually prepared for him to fail and repeat. And we thought that that was okay. It's okay. I know a lot of parents say, huh, you sure? But I think it's okay. It doesn't matter. If he learned to be better, then let it be so. But turned out okay, he passed actually. And in fact, he ended up now is studying in medical school. So you can see that, sometimes we parents need to just, okay, let go, let them experience it. But because that is important for that. I always believe if you are just too protective, we really take away opportunity for them to grow and learn. And that is in the long term more harmful than helpful.
Yes, thank you. That's a wonderful answer. I hear from Zihong that it's about co-creation, co-creating with the child what they feel is best for them based on what they want to achieve. Both Zihong and Laurel, there is another question about, since we're talking about exam stress and how we as adults can help our children, there's a question regarding mental health issues. And I thought we could also add that to helping them with a growth mindset, as Zihong had mentioned earlier. How do we uh, impart this growth mindset and yet at the same time help them with their mental issues as they're growing up? Perhaps Zihong, would you like to start?
Okay, I thought I just want to say something about mental well-being, about grandparents. Okay, I'm a Christian, so are my parents. And one of the things that really, as a grandparents, my parents do quite a lot for my kids is to pray for them and to let them know that they are being prayed for. And I think that is really very powerful. Not just about emotional, but to really looking for divine help to help them. And I cannot say that I know I think many of us come from different faith, but definitely for us, for me as a family, as Christian, we treasure that. And I think that is part of that, knowing what help you also to deal with the stress. Uh, I think praying with our children is something that we do, and we want to encourage them. We pray for them at critical periods and all these things. Um, Going back to the growth mindset, it's the same thing. Is that the belief that our child can grow? That's very important. The belief that they will grow and they can. And I think it's important because sometimes I met many parents who just too worried about it and too worried their kids cannot do that. Like I say, I know I was even prepared for my sons to repeat. You just have to be prepared for that. But because it's okay, there's many years for us to journey with them and be with them. So never look at this that. And once the kids know how you handle failure, they are less crippled by failure. The issue about growth mindset that is counter is that people are too afraid to make mistake. And when they are too afraid, they cannot cope with it. They don't learn from it. So they are so afraid of it, they may avoid. I mean, I teach in school so many years, right? I have kids who miss exam because they think they will not do well. And I think that's missed opportunity. If they have come and do it, maybe they still will fail the exam, but they know what is the thing they miss out and they can close the gap. So you see, that's called grow mindset. Even though I may not do it well, I will just try my best. At least I know what to do. And that is what we want to teach our kids to do that. So sometimes parents, we don't know that. We overreact when they feel, and then they dare not. They say, oops, I have done something bad. This is horrible. My parents are so uptight about it. But the other way is just chill about it and say, okay, so what has it done wrong? What could you do differently? Then they say, okay, my parents are quite sure about that. And I can relook and improve and grow. We celebrate the growth, not the ultimate individual score. And I think that's really important.
Thanks, Zihong. Perhaps Laura, what's your take on as a parent? How do you help your children cope with exam stress and to keep a healthy mind?
Right. So real life story, both kids failed at P3. So one of the things that we always bear in mind is watch our face, right? Because whatever news they break to us, and then I took that and I took a deep breath and like Zihong, I believe in Jesus. And so I said, oh no, well, give me the wisdom, more of you and less of me. And I told them, it's great. It's great that you're failing at P3, not at P6. I said, and things can only get better because now that I know where your bottom line is, then we can work towards, and I always commend them for the effort that they put in. Even when they come home from school each day, we congratulate them. We said, you really concentrated, been on your best, in school, and must have been a long day. It's very draining. So we do something fun, I think just wanting them to know that the characters that we spot, their efforts to care for other people more than all these other great stuff. So they would come back to tell me, who was not in school. So we talk about a lot about other things rather than grades and homework. Um, I mean, I know there was a comment there about good exam grades, more opportunities. So being the very typical Asian parents, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, so I studied all triple science until JC level, and then I said, sorry folks, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't think I can be a doctor. I want to be a social worker. And then they're like, they were so mad. They said, what, you went from like profitable work to non-profit. So I've always been in the non-profit sector in that sense. But I think as I share these stories of my own journey with my parents and how they viewed certain things, and that's why I told my daughter, I don't want to decide for you where you're going for your PSLE after PSLE. I want to leave that to you, but you also need to wait and you pray and ask for wisdom, what to look out for, and what is important to you. So I also teach them about consequences, because like my son, right, he can choose, I don't want to do my work. I mean, and he's really that stubborn, So I said, okay, then you have to be prepared to face the music with the teacher tomorrow. You go and tell him, I did not do my work because I did not feel like it. Okay, if you can live with that, that's perfectly fine with me. And I really mean it, right? I'm not like reacting or anything. So I think that's something that they have to learn for life. I said, you have to be responsible. I'm not going to be chasing after you for 10 years when you're 29 years old, but
Mm.
it starts now. If I don't
Yes,
want to see
yes.
something happening years later, I don't start that habit now.
Yes. It reminds me of what we said just now regarding even if they fail their papers, their exams, regrets are something that we learn from to make us stronger for the future. Not easy to abide by this sort of principle. As you have heard, many of the parents and grandparents in this room are really worried about futures and careers of their young ones. Perhaps we could take a last question and I'll pose it to Zee Hong, because there are many parents here who are so worried about how bad PSLE results, O-level results, and JC results could lead to a not so good career. But Zee Hong, I'm sure you have met many of your
Yeah.
students who are alumni, you have seen them grow up. What's your take upon exam results related to good careers?
Okay, so let me just say this, at least your government is changing. So I sit on interview panel for teachers and teaching scholarship. I have a chance to look at their O-level result and A-level result, or even polytechnic result. So even now, you don't have to come through the route of A-level, polytechnic. So governments has really walked the talk they talk about that. Let's not look at grades, look at the skills, look at the character, look at the person. So if I look at some of their O-level results, they are not fantastic results, but they are considered for scholarship. And so I want to say that the world has changed a lot. And the recognition that result doesn't define a person. In fact, it's just a part and parcel of a growing up. That along the year, the person who show resilience, more creative, more confident, deal with setback, working with people, care for other people, coming together, have an idea of doing something better than others. Those are more important traits. And in fact, I see on the panel, I know that we are looking for these characters rather than, oh, why did you not get an A1 in geography while you're applying to be a geography teacher? We don't even consider that you must have a A1 to be a geography. So I think we have changed. What is important is really helping our children to discover a few things. Purpose. And I agree, Laura, that, I also want my kids to have that same thing, the purpose where they seek to glorify God and to serve people. And when they have a purpose, they have a motivation, a drive for things to do. And when you find that you want to help. So my son is in medical school. When he wants to go there, I encountered in duty. I say, you sure you want to go? I don't need you to become a medical doctor. It's very, very 凄惨 one, it's very tough one. But he wants to help people. So he discovered his purpose. He used it. So he used holiday to go to Nepal and all these things. So there's a purpose. And I think that's what we want to do. They have a purpose. That purpose will drive a passion that keep them going.
Mm.
And after a while, it's autopilot. You can relax and chill. I
Thank
really
you
like
very
Laura
much.
saying, 29 years old and you still want to do something. That's horrible.
Yes. I think it has been a wonderful discussion. I think tonight we have heard from both Laura and Zee Hong regarding how co-creation and communication with the child is important, how we must let children be children and let them just experience life, experience school as it is. And I think most importantly, I'm hearing a few times that I think spiritual well-being, mental well-being, and a 5 o'clock outdoor time, which is a physical well-being, is also very important for our children to develop and grow into successful adults. So thank you very much, Zee Hong and Laura. For our participants, I'm afraid we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, but I'm sure the answers that Zee Hong and Laura have provided will give you some guidance as to what you could do with your children during this exam time. In closing, I'd like to share that Grander Together will be also hosting another webinar sometime on the 5th of November. And this time we're helping and we're kind of a dialogue to see how we can help families that have divorce and separation happening in their families. So whether you're a parent, grandparent, or a good friend of a friend who is under a lot of stress and coping with such challenges and difficulties, do register yourself for this webinar. And if you have social work friends, I'm sure they'll also be interested to see how we can help one another in our community. So feel free to scan this QR code that's on screen right now to register yourself for this webinar. Also, we'd like to announce that we are jointly publicizing with a focus on a family, an event called Fam Jam Fest. Now, this Fam Jam Fest is for the intergenerational family, and it looks like the children would seem to be enjoying it the most. It would be held at the South Beach Avenue at Sentosa, and it is on the Saturday, the 18th of October. So feel free to scan this QR code as well to get your tickets. And with that, we'd like to close this webinar. And this large QR code that you see on screen right now allows you, everyone out there, to connect with Granda together on all our social media platforms. So if you were to scan this QR code, you'll be taken to our Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Feel free to connect with us so that we can continue to connect with you. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. And once again, thank you, Zihong and Laura. Have a good evening, everyone.